with Julie Hawthorne, Lindsay Young, and Katie Morton. We are all seniors here at McDowell High School, and we are here to talk to you about Women to Women and exposure. Women to Women is a week-long program that we all participated in this past summer in Cambridge, Massachusetts. Would you guys like to elaborate on your experiences?
Okay, well, it was amazing. It was in August, in the middle of August, and it was just so much fun. We met so many incredible people, and we heard so many great speakers who really inspired us to improve our situation as women, women's rights, and we just got to meet so many different people from different cultures and different backgrounds from around the world that it really opened our eyes.
Yeah, I mean, it was amazing. Definitely an experience of a lifetime. We went into this program. I don't think we were all actually kind of sure what we were getting ourselves into, but it definitely turned out to be an amazing experience. Like Katie touched on a little bit, we met a lot of incredible speakers, and what was great is there was an emphasis on women's rights, but there was also an emphasis on international relations and global awareness. And I think that we all benefited from meeting girls from 14 different countries and getting to know what they go through on a daily basis, things that we couldn't even comprehend in our own lives.
Like Katie and Lindsay said, when we got there and we met all these girls, I think that taught us more about what we were there for than anything else. We got to hear these amazing speakers, and every day we would grudgingly get up at 7 o'clock in the morning, and we would go until midnight that night, and we would just talk all day to these girls and learn about their cultures, and it was just such an amazing experience, and I'm so glad that I got the opportunity.
How do you think you guys benefited from Women to Women, and how will it affect your future?
Okay, well, with this experience, I think the most important thing was the personal connections that I made with people. And it made me realize that the world isn't such a large place, and these personal connections, they really shrink down the size of the world, so that I have friends over from Palestine and Jordan that, like, I have a friend that calls me up her name's Lama from Palestine, and we talk. So it just changes your perspective on the world, and I think that global perspective is something that's really important to have in any career, and when you're watching the news or anything like that these are real people just like you. So I plan on using that global perspective, especially in my job, because I'm interested in international relations and global studies, and even traveling. It's important to have.
Like Katie, I'm also very interested in international relations, and I definitely benefited because a lot of the speakers we met were women who are very prominent in the international law field, international relations as a whole, women and men. And so meeting them really instilled this sense of hope in myself, and I believe the other girls, that we could do this. Like, if we really set our minds to it, these dreams are achievable.
Yeah. While we were there, it was just so incredible to hear these women speak about their experiences in their careers, and it really just solidified for me what I wanted to do for the rest of my life, just knowing for sure that international relations is what I want to do, and just being there, meeting these girls, and just knowing that they really are over in these countries right now that are having problems, and hearing the direct conflicts that they go through made me much more sympathetic to these stories you hear on the news and things like that.
And didn't you feel like a sense of appreciation too for the opportunities that we're given? I got that sense.
A lot of the girls actually said that it was incredible, the difference between us and them, and how much they knew about our culture and how little we knew about theirs, which is completely true.
It was just kind of a reality check, how no matter how involved you think you are or how knowledgeable you are about affairs going on in the world, these girls will know probably triple the amount of information you know about world events. So for me, it was kind of a reality check, and made me want to know more and learn more. It just kind of instilled in me like a sense of curiosity and like thirst for more information.
But at the same time, the stereotypes that we automatically had, at least the ones that I had, were completely broken, and it made me realize how alike we are actually. Even though we're
definitely.
from different sides of the world, we don't know the same things or anything, but we had the same humor, we had
same concerns about
the same things.
Facebook was
everything.
a common thing
we
among
had
us all.
Facebook break times.
Sneak off between classes to go and go on Facebook.
Tell me about the people you met there.
Well, I just met so many incredible people. Like, these are people that I truly felt like I bonded with over that week. This is a bracelet that I wear. My friends see me wearing off and on and ask what it is, but I have 2 of them, and this is a bracelet that my friend from Palestine gave me. And then my roommate from Egypt gave me this Egyptian money, and they were just so enthusiastic to give you things. Like, they were so generous. They wanted you to remember them. And they were so happy to give you them. Like, I never asked for these things. They just said, oh, here, take this. I want you to remember me by this. So I just recognized that generosity. And I think that if more people saw that from people from other countries, they'd be more accepting of their diversity.
Yeah. One of my favorite people that I met there was my roommate Akanksha. She was from Dubai. We were all given different roommates from different parts of the world, which I believe when we first found out we were all kind of disappointed because we wanted to room together, but it actually turned out to be a great experience because you really got to get to know one person on a close level and talk about your interests. Her and I had a lot in common. By the end of the week, she acted like my mother. I came home late and she was like, where have you been? I was worried sick about you. But no, I definitely bonded a lot with her, the other girls from Dubai, her friends that were there. So yeah, and we do keep in contact still through Facebook.
Yeah. I actually as well had a roommate from Dubai, and her name is Natalia, and she was originally from Lebanon. And I learned all of these incredible things about her and her friends and where they're from. And one of the most interesting things was you would have expected the delegation from the U.S. and the delegation from Dubai to, stick with their friends and stick together, but everyone just made a huge group of 80 girls. There wasn't any one group that you had to belong to. It was just a bunch of friends. Like, everyone became best friends. It was like meeting 79 new, you know what I mean, like close friends that you could just learn about. It was
I know exactly what you mean.
What was the most memorable experience you guys had?
Okay, well, for me, every night I would go into one of my friend's room, Via, who was from the United States, and we would have dance parties with some girls from Palestine, and we would just stay up until literally 3:30 in the morning just talking about things. At first it would start off goofing around, messing around, but then we would actually get into some serious topics about stereotypes and how women are treated there and relationships over there. It was really interesting to hear these perspectives that they had about things and how life was different over there. But a lot of the topics were maybe started out about superficial things like boys and just different things, but it actually progressed into more in-depth look at our cultures. So that was my most memorable experience.
Oh, I don't think I can pick just one.
So many to choose from.
Yeah, because kind of what Katie touched on, regardless of where we went, talking to the girls, just getting to know their perspectives, getting to know what they want to do with their lives, that was great. One thing we did actually that stood out in my mind was we went to that woman's house. She's the former ambassador of Austria, and she gave this incredible speech about responsibility in the world and how we have a responsibility to make an impact on the world. And I think she said we can't afford to be good, we have to be great. And something about that really registered in my mind. Touching on what Katie actually talked about, we did stay up really late most of the nights, which was ridiculous because we got up at 6:30 in the morning.
Oh my gosh.
But it really demonstrates, that was not fun.
I slept for a week when I got home.
But it really demonstrates how much we really bonded with those girls if we were willing to sacrifice our sleep.
Yeah, right. I completely agree with Lindsay in that every experience was the best experience. But one of the most memorable for me would have to be on the last night. They took us onto this boat, and all the girls were on the boat, and they blasted the radio. And we had dinner, and afterwards we were all just dancing on the deck and just laughing and having the best time. And we knew that it was our last time all together because we had to leave the next morning. And I couldn't believe everyone was devastated. I distinctly remember somebody.
No, I'm getting like sad right now.
I know, somebody, but it was just incredible to see how close we'd all gone, and that was the moment I realized that, these were friends that I would have forever to keep in contact with, and I know that I'll be seeing them again in some of the work that we'll be doing.
That was a great night. It was really emotional, and
it was very emotional.
The people from Empower Peace were giving speeches about how great we were and everything. And I wish before I had left that night we would have been able to say, you talk about how we're going to go and change the future, but you're changing the future by changing us.
Exactly.
Because that's what they did, and they were incredible. That was a great night.
How has Women to Women affected your perceptions about other cultures?
Well, I think coming from the United States, when you think of Islam and Muslims, it's not exactly always like a pretty picture. You think of extremism and car bombs, things like that. So it really changed completely. Not that I was prejudiced or anything before, but I really didn't know that much about Islam. And I really got to have some in-depth conversations with some girls about their religion. And now when I hear commercials on TV, political ones or anything just about Islamic extremism or on the news, that you don't get to see the other side, the flip side to that, which is the normal girls out there who are just like us. And most of those girls had never met someone who was an extremist. They didn't know anyone. They went to mosques, just like we go to church, and they lived normal lives. And I don't think I was expecting that. I would have thought I would have met more of them who knew people like that. Yeah. But I just get so defensive when I hear people talk about Muslims and the religion of Islam now. So that changed.
Me too, because I think in the United States we have this generalized mentality that all is, Islam, like Katie said, they're all extremists. And we met so many girls there that would never hurt a fly, you know? And that, I get defensive too when I see fear tactics, like things like that on our televisions, and we actually had two women come in and talk about the bias that American media has in their views of other cultures. And I agree that going to this experience, we were all extremely open and tolerant already, but it really opened my eyes to the way that Americans view other cultures, particularly the Middle East. So.
Yeah, I think all of us are pretty well versed, I would say, in knowing that other cultures are different, accepting the differences between us. But I think going made me realize maybe some of the preconceived notions I had that might not be true. Like Katie said, the extremism, I didn't realize that it wasn't so abundant. I didn't realize that it wasn't everywhere. And I think it helps to know that there are girls that, lead normal lives just like we do, and that it's not all, bombs and like terrorism. It's not all like that. And I think that was important.
Also, I was really not so much inspired, but just impressed by these girls that live through these things. I remember talking to one of the girls from Palestine, Roland, about, bombs that go off there, and she said, oh, they're just like fireworks. Like, we could not comprehend living in a world where there's just bombs going off 5 miles from us.
I think, there's no shortage of violence in these places. I was talking to one of the girls also, Mayar, and she said that you can see these bombs from her window, her bedroom window, and that she would literally hide under the bed when she was younger, and she would see these things. And, it was different to hear that.
Strong.
It was a part of their lives, but it's not like they came in contact with it and they knew anyone. It was like rare incidences of these people. I mean, it's a part of their lives, definitely, but
they definitely were strong, I feel, because of it.
What is the correlation between Women to Women and exposure?
Okay, well, the bottom line is that both of them are trying to provide global awareness and just opening your eyes to different cultures and people and getting you to recognize that there is another world out there. And I mean, they both are centered around human rights and just basically humanitarian needs, and that's all I can. there's definitely correlation between the two, but they
Yeah.
can elaborate maybe a little bit more.
I think kind of Katie was getting to it. They have the same goals. Rick, who is the founder of Empower Peace, really emphasized that if we spread awareness, if they talked about video conferencing that they'd done in early 2000, when you have teens that talk to one another and spread knowledge, it spreads peace and it spreads more acceptance and diversity, which is the goal of exposure. And so I think that they have the same end goal in mind, ultimately.
I think that's very true. In exposure, one of the main goals is to break the biases of students and to encourage them to learn more about other cultures, to just to bridge the gaps that exist between the teens here in America and the teens in other countries. Because if you know students from other countries and you know that they're just like you, the temptation to be biased against them is reduced greatly. And I think that that's a lot of what Women to Women was trying to do as well.
Yeah, I agree. And kind of Katie said earlier that, you know, when she hears about things that occur in Pakistan or Palestine, she has concern, and I have concern too about the girls that I met there.
Absolutely.
So I think that definitely tolerance and diversity has spread through both.
Can you tell us more about exposure and what its purpose is?
Okay, well, Exposure is a group that we formed late last May, then at the end of last year, and basically we're just trying to spread awareness, tolerance, raise awareness about different issues, things like that. We have a lot of activities that we do in order to get the student body aware of things going on, and we have meetings every week, and we have topics that we bring up, and we also have Schools for Schools, which you guys can maybe elaborate to a little bit on, and Invisible Children. So we're just a globally centered group, global community group.
Yeah, talking about Schools to Schools, McDowell recently joined. It's through Invisible Children, and it works to raise money for schools in northern Uganda that has been just devastated by a civil war. So that's one of our main projects right now. Katie definitely hit it on the head as far as our goals, but I think Julie, as one of the co-founders, could definitely give us some more perspective on that.
Well, actually, Exposure stemmed from the group Tolerance 101 at school, which Mr. Hoderney teaches. And I took that class last year under the advice of my mom. She told me that she thought it would be a good idea. And when I took it, it was so eye-opening to these conflicts that are around the world that I had no idea about, because, you know, where else was I going to hear about them? And after the class, the final project was to somehow you had to spread awareness about one of these conflicts, and you had to do something beneficial for it. And I thought, why not start a club that everyone could get involved in and everyone could be a part of? That's main goal would be to raise awareness, spread the acceptance of diversity and things like that. And I was surprised how many people were so enthusiastic to join. You know, everyone wanted to be a part of it, and it was so wonderful to see all these kids that were just so dedicated to the cause and just, you know, enthusiastic about it, and they really wanted to be a part of it.
It was like people wanted to help, but they just didn't have a source.
Exactly. I think that it was an outlet.
Yeah. Exposure is definitely an outlet for that.
What type of issues does Exposure cover?
Well, our first meeting this year, one of the topics was human trafficking and modern-day slavery. And then, but not only world issues do we try and cover, but we also try and get the word out about domestic issues. Not last week, but the week before, a girl brought up the election and what candidates are each about. So she passed out a paper explaining about what they're all about, just to raise awareness so people actually know what they're voting for, what the candidates stand for. And then we also went over last week, we had hunger in India. Those are just three of them, but there's other things.
Yeah, last year when Exposure was first started, we did a lot of work spreading awareness about genocide in Darfur. We made this incredible wall, the Darfur Wall, that just talked about the atrocities that are occurring there and what we can do to help, and how just spreading knowledge is the most powerful tool right now.
Absolutely.
But we actually have a lot of things going on in the future to help for schools, which Julie is orchestrating. Julie and Asha.
Actually, Asha is the main person in charge of Invisible Children, and but basically what it is trying to raise awareness about the rebel soldier war in northern Uganda, and we found out that about 90% of the soldiers fighting in Uganda are children. And Schools for Schools is pretty much a program where your school gets linked with a school in Uganda, and you raise money and you can track your progress online and you can see exactly where all of your money is going, and it's just a wonderful program to help educate the children over there. Rather than having them fight in wars, they're in a classroom where they belong and where they deserve to be.
And our money's going for clean water?
Water and sanitation.
Water and sanitation, yeah. But actually a lot of the things we do are centered in Africa just because there's so much conflict over there. You see a common theme among
the atrocities in Africa.
Can you describe a typical meeting?
Well, first off, we start out with the issues. We try and get a different person each week to bring up a topic of interest to them, so that we have a broad range of topics, so that people are getting issues that they think need attention heard to the group, and other people are being educated by it. And then we go into the agenda and things that we need to do, sometimes split up into committees.
I know with some of the preliminary meetings this year, we talked a lot about fundraising ideas, things we could do to help raise money for the Schools to Schools program.
Pretty much, like they both hit it on the head. The introduce an issue, the first topic, is just to try and let everyone else know that this isn't our club, this is everybody's club, and everyone deserves a chance to talk about what they feel is important. And we try to encourage that among the students who come. And the rest is just planning and talking about ideas, talking about ways that we can make a difference. And that's basically what we do.
What are some reasons why students should join Exposure?
Well, there are a lot.
Well, for one thing, if students want, like I was saying earlier, they want people to know about an issue that they feel strongly about, this would be a perfect opportunity for them to do so. I mean, we're open to, we don't have like a certain number of people are allowed in the club. We don't have any dues or anything. People are welcome to walk in when they want. It's just kind of a relaxed group to talk about things you want, and if you want to make a difference, that's what we're trying to do. So this is, if you want to make a difference, this would be the group for someone to do so.
Yeah, it's a great environment to channel your energy and your ideas and how you want to help with world problems. Yeah. But I think it's also a great place to become informed, because I think a lot of students want to know about what's going on in the world. They just don't know where to go to find out.
Absolutely.
So by coming to one meeting, you can find out about a lot of the things that we're working for, the new ideas that are introduced each week. It's a great source of information.
Absolutely. I think not only that, but the group Exposure encourages students to use their talents and their abilities to the benefit of others. I know that a lot of the kids that are involved in performing arts are putting on a benefit concert to benefit the AIDS cause later, and that's just one example of the many kids that just want to get involved using what they know how to do. And also, kids are getting their churches involved and their parents' businesses, and where they work, they're trying to get them involved, and everyone's so eager.
Yeah, it's resources from everywhere.
Yeah.
Everywhere.
How do the members of Exposure contradict the stereotypical teen? I think that the biggest thing that I've noticed is that there's a lot of people in the meetings. Like, it's pretty much standing room. And just the fact that people come up to us and say, oh, when's the next meeting? And how can I join the homeroom? Things like that. That just really strikes me, the amount of people that are interested in it, and the compliments and stuff that we've gotten. Like, I think what you're trying to do is really great.
Yeah. I think that the general stereotype about teens is, you know what, I'm in my bubble. The only thing I'm concerned about is what's impacting me in my bubble. Yeah. So, showing that there's so many kids that are willing to not only look beyond their bubble, but beyond borders and oceans, that they want to make a difference globally, shows that not only do they care, but they're motivated to take action. Because you can complain about something, but nothing's going to change until you do it. And I think that's no one's complacent, and that's the stereotype with teens, is they're complacent about world issues, and we're not.
Definitely. I think a common stereotype of teens is that they like to, sleep and just, hang out, which is definitely true. But, just kind of hang out with friends and worry about, trivial things that themselves, which is, what teenagers do. But to see all of the kids that are willing to look beyond that, even with the excuse of being a teenager, they're still willing to break that and look beyond it and take advantage of the opportunity that we've tried to present, and everyone just wants to get involved.
But I just want to add one more thing. Like, sometimes the stereotypical teen is the kid that sits in the back, like a kid that sits in the back of the room, kind of not talking, the hood over his head or her head. But with this, I found that in the meetings, everyone's there's a bunch of different people participating, raise their hands. Everyone wants to shout out their ideas and active participation. That's just something.
And I think even if you are the kid in the back of the room with the hood over your head, I think that exposure and tolerance actually, and they're, like we talked about earlier, they're an outlet, because
you don't have some of those kids.
you don't get this kind of information, you don't get this kind of knowledge from your math course. No offense to math, but
it's the kind of
kids that are interested in international relations don't really have another outlet to achieve this.
Yeah, it's the kind of information you can't get in your average classroom.
Yeah.
None of this would have been possible without the availability of technology in our school district. So how do you think that technology plays a role in what Exposure would like to accomplish?
Well, we're really looking towards the future with communicating with other people from other areas, and I really think that technology is going to be a major stepping stone for our group, because we'd like to use video conferencing. I know that's really important, just to see those people and be able to talk to them. So video conferencing is something that we'd really like to use in the near future. That's the next major step.
Yeah, we think that video conferencing would really help the district. We talked about how the world becomes smaller once you get to know people from overseas, and technology makes that available. It's making the world smaller every day. So we really want to do that in the future.
I mean, the fact that our school is so blessed to be able to have these capabilities, it would be almost a shame not to take advantage of it. And for Exposure, it would be such a huge addition to our group. It would be so wonderful to be able to see these people overseas and actually talk with them, and it would bridge the gaps between the generations, I think.
So if we had that opportunity to use this technology, we might as well use it when we have.
Rather than waste it?
Right, rather than waste it.
And it could show more than just us who actually got to meet people from other countries.
Yeah.
What citizens are like globally.
I would like to thank you for joining us today. I'm Asha Thomas, and on behalf of Katie, Lindsay, and Julie, we would like to tell you to keep your eyes open for future events that Exposure will be hosting. If you would like to contact Exposure for more information, then please contact Mr. Hoderney in room 120 at McDowell High School. Thank you.